Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Today we have such a special guest who's really become a friend. We have Mayor Friday Ellis with us today. Mayor Ellis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Number one, I'm gonna be a little bit honest here. I see all these episodes, and I'm like, man, felt like the girl that didn't get asked to the dance. I'm like, man, how do I get on there? And I thank y'all for having me on and being a part of this and doing what you're doing, because we have a great story to tell, great people here, and you guys are shining a spotlight on it. And thank y'all for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you've been on the list. We just, it's taken us a little bit to get to you and get our schedules together. But truly, when we were sitting down and discussing who we wanted to have on it, all of us, it was a unanimous decision that we couldn't have a Made in Monroe podcast without having you on there, because you really do embody just the spirit of our hometown. Yeah. And you're a mayor that is for all people. Yep. And that has been something that as I've gotten to watch your leadership, but also gotten to know you on a personal level, just through business and some things that we do together, you really are a champion for all people. It's not just North Monroe. It's not just South Monroe. It is all of Monroe. Yeah. And so I appreciate that about you. And I know it's been a journey to kind of get to where you are. And so I want to take a step back for a little bit. I want to go back to that little boy who had dreams and visions and became a business owner and then became mayor. Can you kind of walk me through that little boy to becoming that business owner and then why mayor?
Yeah. We were having an off-camera conversation about the people who made us, right? And I think the way that I see life was through the lens of me as a child growing up with a very strong father. I was raised by a single father, small business owner. I was glued at his hip. Everywhere my dad went, I went. And my dad was in the furniture business and also in the car business. And he didn't have customers. He had friends. He had family. And he treated them as such. And it didn't matter what station in life you were in, didn't matter where you lived or the color of your skin. He treated you the same, and he always treated you with kindness and respect. And I believe that that shapes you and that molds you. And later in life, I really loved our small town. Grew up in Rayville. Love that small town feel. I was just there the other day for the Meta announcement.
Absolutely.
Met with Mayor Harry Lewis, and I told him, I said, well, at least this will provide some infrastructure money to fix the sidewalks for me, skateboarding on them all the time, So, but it was very magical. Rayville was filled with small business vendors. I can probably give you a kind of this mental tour down, or visual tour to go down Main Street. Rayville, and I can tell you all the families who own businesses there. And it was really a village. We raised one another. If you were acting up in town, you couldn't pedal your bike fast enough to get home to beat the news, right? And so it was really magical. I got to see mom and pop at its height, and that has left a lasting impression with me. And it helps me as my job and mayor to understand the value of small business. And I always say small business. That term, I really don't like that term, because small business wasn't small to me. Ashley was a school and in the classroom teacher. We weren't making a lot of money when I started my business, but it was everything we had in our savings. It was everything we had almost in our checking account to really pursue a dream. But left Rayville, came to Monroe, Monroe was always the big city. It was always the thing to do, a place that employed a lot of people in Richland Parish and the surrounding region. And that's why I always understand that the decisions that I make as mayor I can't be so insular to think that they don't affect a broader 12 parish region. We rely so much on these rural parishes for workforce, intellectual capital. And so a strong Monroe means a strong surrounding parishes. And so I came to Monroe from Rayville, and ultimately met Ashley, my wife. And just like most folks, I was the nation was impacted by the acts of 9/11, and made the decision and felt called to serve again, and joined the Marine Corps. We traveled all around the country. Eventually came and settled back down here and kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And cigars were my passion. And my dad instilled in me, that kind of serial entrepreneur attitude. And the first thing Ashley said, how are you going to pay for it? How are we going to find this money to do this? And the fastest way I knew how to do it was go work pipeline. And so I wound up in Lancaster, Ohio, with nothing but a bunch of people from Oak Grove, Louisiana.
Wow.
Everybody there was from Oak Grove, slept on an air mattress, wrote a little small business plan, in a notebook, and saved up enough money that I thought was going to go and build this thing. And next thing you know, here I am selling cigars and growing as a business. And the rest is history. Just met a lot of good people that shared their vision of where they thought Monroe should be, the dreams they had of Monroe. And again, it helped me understand some felt needs of this community. It helped me understand the people in our community. I had a very diverse customer base, and those conversations over a cigar, over a commonality, really helped form the decision and that vision that we collectively had of Monroe.
Well, you've had such an interesting journey. And one of the things I like that you said is you saw people work hard from day one, from being a little boy, and just how that impacted you. And I don't think we realize sometimes how much something like that as a little child is impacting us, or how ways that we're impacting little people. But I say the same thing about our kids. I think it's really important for them to see mom and dad working hard, and that you work hard for what you have, because I think those are values that are instilled in them from a young age that then carry on, and they become the Mayor Friday Ellis that had dreams that he pursued and he worked hard for in order to accomplish those.
Mayor wasn't in the checklist of things to do in life. But you often hear me when I'm out speaking, telling people that when you love your community, love's more than a feeling, it's an action, right? And when you talk about the lessons learned from children that you want to instill in them as they go through life, one of the things Ashley and I sat down around the dinner table and talked about was we wanted our children to understand that mom and dad were brave enough and committed enough to stand up when their community needed leadership, or whether, mom wanted to pursue her time on Bessie, the State Board of Education, that mom and dad were courageous enough to step up and put their ideas out there and really serve their community and fight for their community. And that's a lesson that I want our children to understand, is that there will be times where you're going to be called on to be courageous. And we had a conversation. What was the saying in your home? It's brave, but
no fear,
no
just
fear,
peace.
Just peace.
That's what we tell our kids. No fear, just peace.
And then we talked about that. There is this, sometimes it's paralysis by analysis. You can think too much. Sometimes you just got to jump in.
You do.
And you got to get it done, and you're going to figure it out. And I've been blessed in my life to be married to a strong woman who supports me in everything that I do. As crazy as the idea, sometimes as crazy as running for mayor, and we prayed a lot about it. And to have that support person there, because this is at times it can be very stressful and very intense job. And there's times where all elected people, feel like they want to fall apart, but you go home and you have that strong person to help put you back together and let you understand that, and remind you of why you did this and the importance of what you're doing. It matters. And so, again, I've just been blessed so much in my lifetime, and I just want to give back.
Yeah. One of the things I love that you say is if, we change minds and change hearts, then we change perspective, and we change what comes out of people's mouths. And I think you've lived that. You've been really an example of that. And so really with this, that's what we're trying to do is just follow in your footsteps and really change the perspective that people have of our city, because we live in a wonderful place. It's comprised of amazing people, amazing businesses, and people really that have chosen to stay here and plant careers here, plant businesses here that could really be anywhere in the world. And so if we can change the way that they think, and we can have a heart change, then I do think we can change what people say about the area. And so just as I was thinking about today and thinking about you being mayor and making that decision to really stand up for your community and to give back in that way. And that's that's a major step and a major way to give back, because it's not only you, but it's impacting your family. It's impacting your wife and your kids and what people say and the things that they do and the way they treat you and how that impacts your family. So let's go back. You said just a little bit ago, you talked about the why. Let's go back to that why. Why mayor? It is such a thankless job sometimes, as I've watched you over the last year even, this term, like go back to the why. Tell me the why and how you stay focused on the why.
It goes back to when you see issues in your community and you think about what is the most impactful way that you can help solicit those changes that you would like to see. If you're not setting policy and if you're not setting the table, then all you're really doing is really lobbying for things to get done. And I think that plays an important role. But I felt like that there was an opportunity for me with my relationships built in this community to be able to, and my unique experience as a small business owner. I worked for the city's engineering department, so I was familiar with some of our infrastructure woes that we had. And I had a very unique set of eyes to go along with this. But my why is really to create a better place. I choose to live here, right? I choose to live here. It's my choice.
You could be anywhere.
We can be anywhere. And I heard so many people say this, and it resonated with me as a father too. Like, I don't want to have to chase my kids around the country for opportunity. If I had $1 for every time somebody said that, I'd be a rich man. Right? I wouldn't have to work another day in my life. And when you ask the question, what can I do? Then why not you? Why couldn't you be the person? And so I just put it out there, and I'll tell you, and this may not, a lot of people don't know this. And so I'd like to clear up any false perceptions around there. I didn't come from a lot of money. I grew up in Rayville, so I wasn't really connected here in Monroe. Like, I didn't have a lifetime of opportunities to know people throughout our community. I was an unexpected candidate, a small business owner. The biggest question I got was, how can a cigar shop owner, run the biggest business in this community? What I realized is what we all realize. This community is filled with so much talent. If I surrounded myself with quality people to do those quality jobs and to execute on a shared vision that this community had, because again, if you can't execute on a vision, that's just a daydream, right? And so to surround yourself with talent and people throughout our community that can lend value, add value, and to execute that dream. And you saw that in our first 4 years. I mean, we were running at warp speed. But the fact is that this community matters. These families in your community matter, regardless of where you live. And they're worth fighting for, and they're worth your time and effort. And I tell people all the time, there's probably 1% of this job that's unenjoyable, right? And that's the politics of this job. 99.9% is getting to meet all the really great people in our community, hearing the great things that they're doing. And that's what charges you up. Every single day when you meet people and hear what they're doing. I met with a group of ladies that I'd never met in my life that just got awarded a $100,000 grant by the federal government to be able to help mentor children in our community. And they came to us and were looking for ways that they can work with us and partner. And I was just like, this is amazing. And they had a busy life of their own outside of this grant, but they chose to give back because it matters to them. That's who I'm fighting for. These children in our community, these families in our community, it matters. And so that's what charges me up, fuels me up. It's our people. I know it sounds so hokey to hear somebody who's elected to say it's our people but it's so true. It is so true. We have a lot to be proud of here in Monroe.
Well, I think that goes back to you being such a champion for people. Everything that you hear you say, it talks about the people. And I think even the way that you ran your campaigns, but even the way that you just run your leadership now, it's not just a one-man show. It's not just about what you can do. It's surrounding yourself with the best people, having the right people in the right seats, and then letting people go to work for the community. And I think you do such a great job of that.
Yeah. One of the things that I knew that we had to do a ton of work in was engage the young professionals. Because they were leaving at record rates, right? As to engage young professionals. That's why you see me all the time on college campuses talking with students to get a direct feedback loop of what they like to see when they graduate. but also this young professional, they want to be here.
Right.
There's not a desire to just pick up and leave. The fact is they want to be here. They just need opportunity. But I think that's what the chamber has done great, is to engage the young professionals, get them active again. The attitude has changed about our area and the way we've got, but also the things we've got going on. But also, if we were to set policy and we were to talk about the future of Monroe, where were they at the table? Right. Meaning, where were they in City Hall? Where were the young professionals there? Every one of my executive staff, save for 3 who have been there for a while, which lend great perspective. And they are great stewards of those positions and help us. They teach us so much with their institutional knowledge, their leadership, and being around. But if you think about it, my staff is comprised of people of all walks of life, every leaning politically to give me perspective. They're young. They're very passionate about what they do. They push back on me and to get me to see things from different perspectives, how this policy may affect different people in our community. And I'm very proud of my team, and it's wonderful to see that happening, and they're helping build a Monroe for the next generation.
I love that, for the next generation, because it's so important that we think and we have forethought, for that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about you is you've had a really rewarding journey. And I think as a lot of people would look at your journey that you've been on, they would say, wow, he's really accomplished a lot. It's been so rewarding. But I know it hasn't come without its challenges. Yeah. I've been to city council meetings. Yeah. I've watched city council meetings on TV. And so I don't want to sit on this a while, but I have watched decisions be made strictly because, or gone against strictly because of who you are. Yeah. I've seen reckless decisions be made strictly because of going against you. Yeah. How do you keep the mission at the forefront of what you're doing when you have a lot of these other mountains? I feel like you have maybe some more mountains this time. Not that you didn't have any the first term, but it seems like we have a few more around us this time. Yeah. And so how do you keep that mission at the forefront of your mind? And how do you choose to handle it with such grace and such dignity? Because I do watch you in those situations, and you handle it so well. And you continue to still be a mayor to all people, no matter what comes your way. Yeah,
I think it's from when I got in this, I wanted to show that politics can be different. Right. Let's take issue with the policy and not the person.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. I think that I've met a few times and said that I think we are just speaking 2 different languages right now. It's like, I'm in a new country touring a new country, or they're in a new country touring a new country. We're just speaking different language, but we want the same thing, right? We want safe communities. We want vibrant communities. We're just speaking 2 different languages and or 2 separate sheets of music, right? Right. And eventually I'm helplessly positive person to a fault. But I always believe there is opportunity. We are going to disagree on things. That's for sure.
It's just part of life.
But I just think that we are more aligned on things that separate us. But right now, it seems to be that we're focused on the things that separate us versus working on the things together that we're aligned on and moving those issues. And so I believe we're going to get there. But I also believe that the way people elected me to be respectful. They elected me to be professional and represent this community, because I do represent this entire community. If I were to just to give in and to perpetuate behavior, then I think people would be very disappointed in me. I would be disappointed in myself. And by the way, we talked about it earlier. I got 3 little sets of eyes, at home, looking to their dad to see how their dad leads. I need to be the example not only for this community, but also for my children to understand how to professionally handle disagreements, professionally handle community issues, right? Regardless of how I'm being treated. Right. The only thing I can control is the way I react to things. And I can tell you that the stakes are too high and our people are worth it. And not only that, not only is it my children looking here, there's also outside investment looking and watching how we handle situations, right? And handle them professionally. Because every single day when we talk about hearts and mouths, I tell people all the time, there are people in your community every single day that would surprise you. There are people who visit this building where we're sitting here that I think this community would be like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
So-and-so was here today. If you look at the tail numbers of planes that fly into Monroe, you would be amazed of the people that are around this country that come to Monroe to do business. And it's important that we remain professional, and it's important that we remain positive about the things that are going on here. Because if you don't think people tune in to council meetings and read the paper and then make a decision on whether or not this is the community I want to live or expand my business or put my business, we would be foolish to think that they don't do those things. And so that's why it's important to me, because we have so much potential here, and I don't want any actions that I do to hinder the growth or to give an image of Monroe that I know something different.
Right. Well, and we're on the cusp of so many wonderful, amazing opportunities.
Yes, we are.
And we've only, I think we've only just begun to see some of those. I think there's some others that are in the works that we don't even fully know about yet. And so I think you're leading so well.
Well, thank you.
I do. I like what I hear, but even more than that, I like what I see and just the actions. But I do have to ask, I know that we talked about 3 little sets of eyes that are on you.
Yeah.
And I know how that impacts them. How does it affect them when they're watching some of these things unfold? And how do you navigate that at home with them just as a dad, not even as mayor, but as dad?
Yeah, one of my biggest challenges is whenever you step up into public office, you kind of expose your family to the unknown.
You do.
Right?
Absolutely.
That was one of my biggest fears, is that, somehow that my family would become cannon fodder to politics. I won't sit here and tell you that hasn't happened, but I can tell you that I'm very proud of my kids. They're very proud of mom and dad.
Yeah.
We sit around the dinner table at night, every night, and break bread unless we're out, tonight's Fifi, find it, fix it night, or we're going to go out and eat because I don't want to do
Everybody has one of those, yes.
But we sit around that. My father-in-law has lived with us for the last 16 years. He comes in every night, breaks bread, takes some fishing, it's been I can't tell you what a joy it's been, but he comes in every night and the kids are like, Mom, Dad, do we have to solve the world's problems every night at the dinner table? But I think what we want to do is draw from them. We do inject kind of local situations and ask them their opinion on it. Ask them, if it, how they would deal with the situation. You know what I mean? And to also, there are times where I pull them aside and, that we'll go for a Sonic run or something, for a cherry limeade, and I'll ask them, how things been going. Because especially when there may be an issue that's really pressing in the community, to see if they're getting any pushback at school. They're very proud of mom and dad. They stay out of the fray. And here's an even bigger testimony about our community. Their kids at school, they don't involve them, right? They already razz them a little bit about being the mayor's kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's a testament to their friends and their kids at school, is that they're proud of them, right? And that they see folks, dad lead, and that, again, it's why it's so important, because I can't be so insular to think that the decisions I make don't affect their lives as well.
Absolutely.
And their friends' parents' lives and their friends' lives, and and they've handled it very well. And they're proud. Ari calls herself the first daughter.
I love that.
And she loves it.
That's great.
It is. Sometimes I ask them, and I try to be very aware, to be sure that there are things that that the decisions we made didn't negatively affect their lives.
Yeah.
But I can tell you it's affected my life in many ways, because this term I have to be more intentional, because I look at my campaign pictures when I started, and there's Asher like right here. Yeah. And then my campaign pictures this term. And then now that Friday's taller than me and Asher is my height, and then Ari is just blossomed in such a beautiful little girl. And it's just, it's a visual reminder that you've got to stay. You cannot lose who you are because you're busier, right? Yeah. You cannot lose that family and that time. And so there are times where I've missed council meetings. Yeah. But, to me, my family comes first.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think most people in this community understand that, and they'll give me a little grace and a little understanding. And again, I can tell you, I could still go today to any part of this city, and we have some of the best folks that'll hug your neck and fill you up and charge you up. So there are times where you feel down, and my staff tells me, Mary, get out, get out, go about. And then because they know people come and love on you and talk to you and
pick you up.
Yeah, pick you up. So and that's what my family does for me. They get it. Yeah.
They lift you up. Yep. I love that. And I love that you're the example that you guys are setting for them, and that you're having the conversations with them, because that in and of itself, it's teaching them, and it's teaching them to think through things. It's teaching them to talk about things and to talk about things that are not easy, and life is not easy, and it's full of challenges. It's full of, things that you're going to face, adversity. That's just inevitable in life. And so I think they're getting to see a front seat to that. And I think it's probably invaluable to them.
Oh my goodness. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm speaking of intentionality. I always bring my kids with me everywhere I go. Whether it's raining and we get $12 yard rakes and some buck boots ready, and we roll, and we're out cleaning grates. Yep. Whether it is, I'll tell you, during campaign season, Asher came with me, and I think we were on Dick Taylor. And it's there are a lot of dilapidated structures in this community, and to be sure that Asher came with me, and he sat and talked with me and families to talk about the things that matter to them. I wanted Asher to see that, why it was important that Dad does what he does.
Right.
Because, and I'll never forget, there was a lady, she flagged me over, and she was sitting in her front yard, and she shared with me that she was, about to be evicted from her home. And she said, Mayor, if you give me a minute, she said, I want you to walk through here and realize why I would argue this home shouldn't even be rented. And I said, sure. So let me come with you. And so Asher came with me, and I remember she telling me the story about how her husband was going through the neighborhood finding scraps of wood to nail on the floor to cover the holes in the floor, and how, she's like, how can I be evicted from a place that probably should never be rented? And Asher was walking with me, and he, he got to see that there are parts of our community that need help, and that people who needed help, and what station in life they were, that there's a bigger city than just where you live in our little area. And that, public service means, representing everyone. And I can tell you that day we sent over code enforcement to take lots of pictures.
Yeah.
And I hope that she understands that the next time she's in front of a judge, that these are efforts there to really step it up with code enforcement, to have the property owner make the changes that they need to make to have a livable quality and to improve her quality of life. And that she understood that a mayor sat there and listened, and that we acted, not only listened, but we acted, and helped her. And so, that's the things that we can do in office to help people's quality of life, whether it's to help drainage. A lot of people go, well, how's drainage help quality of life? I can tell you when I got in office, there were people that every time it rained, they would be scared that either, the sewer would back up in their homes, or water would get in their homes. And when people, ask, I'm not apologetic about where I spend the money and why I spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be in your community, but it's, we take a priority for those who are seeing some serious issues when it comes to infrastructure and quality of life.
Right.
And I want to be able to start there first.
Yeah.
There may be people with water standing in their yards, but I can bring you to neighborhoods to show you people with water standing in their homes whenever it rains. And so it's important for me, regardless of where you live in the city, to understand that, we're making investments to increase the quality of life for everybody. And I want my kids to see it too. And I want my kids to understand that, a life of service isn't the highs of being, elected that on election night. It's the everyday work and the everyday citizens that you're working for to try to improve. And I want them to see that.
Yeah.
And my father, that was instilled in me. I would follow my father and sit in kitchen tables of people that Dad was trying to help build their credit to one day, own a home,
right.
and to furnish their home. It was, I don't know, it was a special time, and I'm shaped who I am because of my father, who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my children to be shaped by the fact to know who their father was, right. and why their father got into public service. And like I said, public service isn't just sitting in City Hall.
Right.
It's actually getting out and meeting with people. A lot of people don't know this either. On Fridays, when I have time, I still get out in the public. So people call the mayor's office and they have an issue. I'll wait a week to try to give our local crews the opportunity to fix it, right? Give our public works, community affairs folks time to fix it. And then the following week, I'll go back out and knock doors to figure out if that issue was resolved or not. And again, if I had $1 for every time somebody looked up and said, well, I'll be danged, it's the mayor. Again, I would be a rich man because I just tell people, you're my boss. I work for you, right? Because there's a lot of times things won't bubble up to you. Our crews will fix things before I even get an opportunity to understand there was an issue. But I tell people, we don't always get it right, but it's our job to make it right. And so I hope people understand that we want to have a direct connection and a feedback loop to people. And I think that's why that's why you see in our second election, we gained a ton of favor across the board.
We did, yeah.
You name it, every demographic we gained favor in, because it's just building trust. Trust, sometimes is quick to erode, and sometimes it takes time. But just like building trust, it's going to take time.
Right.
It's going to take consistent and intentional efforts to do what we need to do to build that trust and to build that faith. And we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to continue to get out. We're going to continue to work. We're going to keep, and I'm always going to keep a direct feedback loop and the needs of our people at heart, regardless of what happens, regardless of what perception may be pushed.
Right.
I know this because we're intentional about our time, the people we talk to, getting out into the public, getting direct feedback loops from our community members. Because I'll tell you, fastest way to figure out whether or not you got issues, go to the grocery store, right?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
Ashley quit sending me to get ice cream years ago because you get back and the whole thing's melted. But you need feedback loops, and there are times that I'll drive all the way across town. I'll go to Max Fresh Market on Winsboro Road to go get groceries just for direct feedback loops, right? Or I'll go I don't eat lunch. I have either coffee or an energy drink, and I'll drive around and meet people and just talk. And they'll tell you, they will be honest with you. And one thing I try to instill into people or just to convey to people is, I'm not here just to hear the good stuff. If there are things we need to work on, I need to know that too. Or if there's people that that need help, let us know and we can get to them. So I've enjoyed it. This has been the biggest blessing of my life to represent the people of Monroe. It's wonderful.
Yeah.